yourself. But if for whatever reason you won't or can't get access to a physical gaming machine, cloud computing promises to bring the power of the enterprise data center onto a screen the size of your TV, your computer, or even your phone.
Is cloud gaming a scam or the future? Cloud gaming is something that has become kind of a taboo recently. When Google Stadia gave it a run, it had an embarrassingly early death. Moreover, there's a collective sigh that comes from Nintendo fans.
Cloud gaming is fine. Nintendo just sucks at doing it.
So naturally, it's easy to say that alongside microtransactions and loot boxes, cloud gaming is the new Grim Reaper for gamers. It draws out a response that is not too far off from a cold shudder every time it's uttered in a room full of gamers.
And as many good ideas as they also have a lot of really dumb ones. And the one that we're going to be talking about today is about cloud games.
But that wasn't always the case.
One of the things that we stumbled upon is
Back in 2007, a man by the name of Steve Perlman founded a new company. This company's goal was to offer a high-performance games-on-demand service. This service was meant to deliver, quote-unquote, the latest high-end titles over home broadband internet to the TV and entry-level PCs and Macs. As some of you might know, this company was called OnLive.
The OnLive game system. Order now at OnLive.com.
OnLive was first publicly shown at GDC 2009 to an audience of journalists and game developers who were actually quite skeptical. This obviously is because the very idea of playing a game like you play a YouTube video felt outrageous. Not because it was a bad idea, but because it seemed impossible at the time.
OnLive is a revolutionary on-demand game service that works through the internet and allows you to get the most advanced games in the world on TVs, PCs, and Macintoshes.
OnLive offers a number of advantages over current game systems. It's the first truly online platform. All games are accessed instantly and offer a broad range of content for all consumers. There's flexible pricing, and you never need to upgrade your hardware again.
The skepticism had been so high that during the event, people actually tried to pry open the booth walls to see if the demo was fake. Spoiler alert, it was not.
What you got there?
It's a smoothie.
Even so, the idea had merit. And even beyond that, it actually worked really well.
Games about how cool this thing is. So let's tell you about how this works.
The idea was that the game itself would run on a server miles away, and the server would stream video frames of the action back to the user.
In the server center. So the game is not, even though you have your PC, your Mac, or your microconsole in your home, basically, all you need there is the lowest end systems, because all we're really doing is decompressing the video that comes back from the server center.
One of the few games that attendees could try at the time was Crysis.
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
playing fair.
Gee, you know, that was completely an accident. I think we'll just go and have a little fun here. Oh, yes!
All right, the first time that's ever happened.
Oh, yeah.
While much of the footage and impressions from that event are lost to time, the passion behind everyone involved in the making of the service, as well as the excitement around OnLive at the time, speaks volumes about the game's performance on the service.
There are so many low-end PCs without GPUs and Macintoshes that now become an install base of game system on day one that all they need to do is access OnLive.com and download a 1 meg browser plugin. So I think the accessibility of our platform is going to be like no other was before.
So OnLive is games on demand. We bring the top titles from the latest publishers out, into the gamers' homes. And what we're doing is we're actually pushing all the smarts that you need to actually play these games up into the cloud. So we're running server centers with high-end gaming servers that allow you to experience the best games with all the graphics options turned on down to your home, regardless of how you're connecting to our service. So you can connect to our service on a low-end Macintosh, you can have a little PC or a notebook, and you can also use our micro console.
When OnLive launched in 2010, it was already way ahead of its time, showing off features that wouldn't become a staple for years to come. It was a subscription service that offered discounts on the newest big-budget releases, and it boasted a decent library of games for free. Additionally, it had a 15-second gameplay highlights feature that you could record via your controller. And this was a feature that wouldn't be implemented again until Sony's PlayStation 4.
And here you go, you can see the video I uploaded, my avatar, and sure enough, in brag clips, a moment I won't brag much about, but we captured the last 15 seconds of that Steve killing me. So I guess that means I'll be up for a raise this year since I let him kill me.
Look, as long as we got good health insurance, you're all set.
According to sources, the performance on OnLive at times would even surpass that of actual PS3 and Xbox 360 hardware, where some games were notoriously chugging along on as low as 10 to 15 frames at times. And yet, despite all of this, only a year after its 2011 UK launch and 2 years after its 2010 US launch, OnLive shut itself down. Its only remains are a gray, hollow page selling its available assets. Well, according to a report from The Verge, there were several factors as to why OnLive failed the way it did. Some of them external, and many of them internal. See, Steve Perlman was a notoriously hard person to work with, and as many former employees from OnLive have said, his ego was the company's undoing. He denied offers to put games on their service solely because publishers also wanted to put their games on Gaikai, which was an OnLive competitor. He constantly turned down potential offers for getting bought out and then laid off most of the staff without any benefits or severance pay. What really cemented OnLive's failure was its eventual lack of games and outright removing previously available games because of Perlman's ego, alongside a drastically lower than expected subscription rate. While the company itself stated that it had 2.5 million users and 1.5 million active users, the reality is that the number of players who actually bought the subscription was as low as 12,000. Dealing with the bandwidth limitations at the time and having a service that works solely through broadband internet was a cruel combo that did no favors to OnLive. Eventually, OnLive was bought by Sony, who also bought its direct competitor, Gaikai, and used that talent to fund PS Now. Now imagine a world where you could demo any game you wanted for free before you bought it on any device you had from anywhere in the world with a half-decent internet connection. What if you could try out playable ads for big-budget games from any popular platform like YouTube or Facebook? This was the vision that David Perry had in 2008 when he formed Gaikai. Unlike OnLive, Gaikai wasn't run by an egocentric businessman with an inflated ego, nor were they struggling for success. Until 2012, when Sony showed up to Gaikai's doorsteps with a check for $380 million and acquired the company to work on their cloud ecosystem, or as we know it now, PlayStation Now. Gaikai's CEO David Perry said, "After Sony acquired Gaikai, we went quiet. I stopped giving speeches, I stopped pushing this as the future of the industry, we withdrew from all the deals." It was apparent that Sony foresaw cloud gaming as the next big thing and wanted its hands in the pie as soon as it feasibly could. But it's easy to forget that PlayStation Now itself had a very rough start.
Sucks. Why would I want to pay $3 to play 4 hours of a game? I would just spend the whole time looking at the clock, making sure to get my money's worth.
David Perry said, "Sony acquired something that they thought would be a good idea to buy because they could feel the momentum. And I don't think at the time it was clear to them which business they were in." 2012 onwards was a weird period for Sony. The PS Vita had only just launched in February and was promptly abandoned once Sony saw unsatisfactory sales despite its incredible potential.
Will support being able to play games across
Stadia is currently the hot new punching bag of the market, but that doesn't mean it didn't have good ideas, and it doesn't really discredit the merits of cloud gaming as a whole.
It's then easy and instantaneous to move that same game experience from exactly that moment onto the phone, here on a Pixel 3 XL.
Because despite all the outcries and complaints against cloud gaming and the fact that many who have tried in the past have failed, it isn't a snake oil scam. OnLive, Gaikai, Stadia, none of these services started with the idea to scam people out of their money for a service that didn't work. The people who worked on these genuinely believe that there's a future for this avenue, and even right now, out of the 4 aforementioned services, xCloud, GeForce Now, and even PlayStation Now are sitting at a pretty comfortable spot. xCloud bundles this alongside Game Pass Ultimate and lets you play all of your games on the Game Pass on the cloud as a bonus, while GeForce Now lets you play most of your Steam library on the cloud from anywhere, And PlayStation Now lets you play most PS3 and PS4 exclusives on any device, all the way from a PS Vita to a PC. Meanwhile, Stadia put this bizarre barrier in front of players that basically said if they wanted to play on the cloud, they had to buy games specifically on Google Stadia. This was one of the biggest reasons Stadia failed. Players just don't want to buy games they already own, or games at full price just to play an inferior version of it with bad input latency and poor texture streaming.
And I like to look at the news for Stadia about every couple days so often, just to see where it stands, and it's really not doing so well. What was the last major game updates that happened? Nothing of substance.
Stadia's biggest cause of failure was both its refusal to learn from the mistakes made in the past and the lack of foresight to see what its audience would want out of it.
But the coolest thing about it all is that by bringing it to Stadia, pretty much everybody is going to be able to play it at the highest quality settings, because Stadia is democratic in that sense, if you want.
Now, cloud gaming will probably never overtake the demand and appeal of just buying proper hardware and playing games natively. But as the internet gets better and faster, good enough to play these games with minimal latency almost anywhere, there is a bright future for cloud gaming. But we can also say with certainty that it will never be the future for gaming.